Welcome to the latest episode of the Informing Choices mini-pod. Today, we're going to be talking about accounting in the metaverse and what that might look like by 2030. But why might the metaverse be important for the accounting profession in the future? Well, let's just consider the economic potential of the metaverse. So the metaverse in terms of real world business, and we'll talk more about that presently, could be worth somewhere between 500 billion to $1 trillion by 2030. In the virtual world, so this is the trading in virtual products, goods and services, could be worth somewhere between 800 billion and $1.5 trillion. So that gives a combined estimate of those two parts of the market of somewhere between 1.3 trillion to 2.5 trillion dollars. And this has significant implications for the accounting profession. Now, if we take a bit of a step back when we think about metaverse isn't entirely new, like many technologies we see reaching a degree of maturity. Second Life, for example, an online virtual world, was launched back in 2003 by Linden Labs, and it reached a peak economic activity between somewhere up 2007 and 2009. Residents across those years spent in excess of 100 million US dollars on virtual goods and services. At its peak, Second Life had in excess of 1 million active users every month. And major brands, including IBM, Dell, and Reuters, experimented with virtual offices and events in the virtual world. Now, what's interesting is both Second Life and other virtual worlds like Roblox have actually proved capable of generating millionaires. That's real world millionaires from their virtual world activity. And I think it's that that gives you a sense of the economic potential of the metaverse and therefore why it's of interest to the accounting profession. So, what I'm going to be doing in this episode of the podcast is looking at two aspects of how the metaverse might be important to accounting. The first is adapting to the metaverse as a platform for engaging with traditional clients. The second is adapting to the metaverse as an immersive place to conduct business for virtual clients. So, why is it important to consider these technologies for the accounting profession? Well, I think it helps us define our strategy moving forward. Do we want to leverage what we've already do? Do we want to focus on efficiency and automation? Do what we've always done to make sure we get what we've always got? Or do we want to extend our offering, provide additional value to our clients, do a bit more? Or do we want to deepen our customer base, match existing offerings with new clients, diversify the client base into different sectors or different geographies? Or do we want to consider new propositions? Is our future world with new clients and new tools to enable new value-added services, new markets, and taking those services to market in new ways? I think here we're looking at trying to differentiate between those different options so that we're clear about where we should be investing our time, our money, our focus. To be honest, it's about how we stay relevant in an ever-changing world. One of the important things for all professions, I think, is digital literacy. And in this particular case, what we're talking about is metaverse. But what is the metaverse? So the metaverse is a collective, persistent virtual space where users can interact through a computer-generated environment with digital assets and other users in real time, often through the use of avatars, which is how many of these platforms work. It blends elements of virtual reality, of augmented reality, social media, online gaming, digital commerce, and blockchain-based assets like cryptocurrencies and NFTs, non-fungible tokens. Think of it as an immersive version of the internet, where instead of browsing on a screen, you actually experience the web as a 3D world. So, in a business context, for example, the metaverse might create and allow us to host virtual offices and client meetings, training simulations and events, e-commerce and service delivery, and financial operations and digital asset management. So, having set that context, I'd like to do three things. Firstly, we'll look at adapting to the metaverse as a platform for engaging with traditional clients. Then we'll look at adapting to the metaverse as a platform for virtual business. And then finally, we'll pull some threads together and think about the implications for the accounting profession. So let's start with adapting to the metaverse as a platform for engaging with traditional clients. And let's look at a number of options that we have here. And the first is virtual client engagement spaces. So accounting firms could establish virtual offices in the metaverse, providing a modern and accessible platform for consultations. Clients could visit these offices via avatars, enabling personalized engagement without the need for physical offices. Firms could use immersive dashboards to visually present financial data, tax returns, and audit findings in real time. This helping to make complex concepts easier for clients to understand. Secondly, it helps enhance remote accessibility. For SMEs or individuals, the metaverse, for example, could facilitate secure document sharing and consultations within virtual environments, creating a more interactive and human connection compared to video calls or emails. Thirdly, immersive financial education for clients. I touched on this earlier on. Accountants could offer virtual workshops and seminars in the metaverse, educate clients on tax planning, compliance, or budgeting, for example. Accounting practices could create interactive 3D simulations to illustrate cash flow processes, financial planning scenarios, or the implications of tax strategies. Fourth, personalized services using avatar interaction. You can see how some of these things overlap. So personalized services here, we're talking about firms creating AI-powered virtual assistants within the metaverse to handle basic client queries. For example, providing updates on deadlines or automating simple tasks like invoice reconciliation. This helps free up human accountants to focus on high-value advisory work. And finally, streamlining workflow integration. Accounting tools could be embedded into the metaverse, allowing clients to upload invoices, receipts, or other records directly into secure, perhaps blockchain-backed systems for real-time processing. So that's using the metaverse for real-world client activities. But what about using the metaverse for virtual world activities from an accounting perspective? So let's think about adapting to the metaverse as an immersive platform to conduct business. So here, potentially, we're talking about specialized metaverse accounting services. As businesses operate in virtual worlds, accountants will need expertise in valuing digital assets, for example, these NFTs and cryptocurrencies, navigating new regulatory frameworks for virtual transactions. Tax strategies will need to address complexities such as cross-border taxation of virtual goods and virtual services or digital real estate. Next, real-time financial oversight in virtual economies. So here we're talking about accountants acting as financial controllers within the metaverse, monitoring in-world transactions, virtual transactions, and revenue streams for clients in real time, but in this virtual space. The integration with blockchain technology could provide tamper-proof automated record keeping to enhance virtual world transparency. Next, regulatory and compliance expertise. Accountants will need to adapt to emerging legal and regulatory frameworks governing the metaverse, such as accounting for digital-only transactions, thinking about virtual intellectual property, virtual licensing agreements within these virtual environments, anti-money laundering and fraud detection services could also become critical as virtual worlds become targets for illicit activities. And again, much like the real world, financial simulation and scenario planning in the virtual world, accountants could use the metaverse to model and simulate financial strategies in these 3D immersive environments, helping businesses to understand the impact of decisions like expanding virtual operations, or investing in digital assets. And finally, revenue recognition in virtual economies. Accounting practices will need to address complex revenue recognition challenges within these virtual worlds for businesses operating in this space, such as when virtual goods or services are sold on subscription models, or when multi-world digital services are bundled. So those are kind of the two views of the metaverse in accounting. The use of the metaverse as a platform for traditional clients, but then also the use of the metaverse for providing services to virtual world clients. So what are the key takeaways here? Well, I think for me, the metaverse is not just a trend, it's a transformative opportunity for the accounting profession. By adopting immersive engagement and supporting virtual businesses, accountants can remain relevant to both their existing and emerging client base. Exploring metaverse platforms and experimenting with these virtual tools, I think, is really, really important. It's critical. So invest in training and some of these emerging technologies. In a world where virtual is becoming reality, the accountants who innovate will shape the future of the financial leadership landscape. And let me close with this thought. Change is the law of life, and those who look only to the past or present are certain to miss the future. JFK said that. Thank you for watching and listening. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss another episode of the Informing Choices mini-pod, and do tell your friends and colleagues all about the podcast. I'll see you on another episode very soon.